Revheads.
Good morning, everybody.
It is a sentimental day here at Fun with Faith. It is Thursday, April 29th, 2021. This is episode number 249, and it is our last episode before our summer hiatus. And we're sitting here
looking around going, we can pack all this
we
now.
can pack all this now. This is gonna be like the last time that this is our background, and
the last time we'll use this intro.
Hey,
in all seriousness, it is kind of
yeah. It kind of feels
graduation day.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. But anyway, today we're going to do, instead of our typical, we're going to look at the scripture from Bob Goff's Live in Grace, Walk in Love. We're going to do an Ask Us Anything.
Yes.
Now, yesterday, in the beginning stages of my
delirium.
Moderna delirium, I thought, hey, I'll call Bob and see if we can get him on the show today. My delirium got worse as the day progressed. And I honestly did not remember until this morning, about 9 o'clock.
Bad. Oh, he had a bad time.
It was a bad time. It was a short time. The hydrating helped in a little bit, but
really rough.
It was rough. So I did not call Bob, and we are not going to have Bob with us today. But that's okay. See, when we start back up again in the fall, we'll still be we can still use Live in Grace, Walk in Love, and maybe we start with Bob.
We can.
So we'll work on that for the fall. You can start typing in your questions in the comments, and we will answer what we can. And while you're doing that, we're going to
take the good.
No. We're gonna expand your mind with some knowledge. And here's the thing: you guys can type in your questions. Since we're taking the summer off, we're just gonna do the rest of the summers. Did you know?
We're gonna learn so much today.
I'm just kidding. We're not gonna do the whole thing. We are gonna do today and Friday, because Friday always has the joke on it. So today. Did you know a group of women called the 9 Nanas kept a secret for decades that not even their husbands knew? For 30 years, they met at 4 a.m. and anonymously paid bills and bought clothes for people in need. Each care package came with a homemade pound cake and a note that read, "Somebody loves you."
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. The daily extra for today is a maze, so go ahead and screen capture that.
Amazing.
Boom, there you go. And then the Did You Know for tomorrow, Friday, April 30th, George Washington braved the dangers of many battles, and horses shot out from under him and crossed enemy lines to return a lost dog to its owner. But he was never witnessed as being the least bit nervous until the day he gave his inaugural address before Congress as the first president of the United States on April 30th, 1789.
Because he didn't have a dog.
Yeah. And the joke of the week, Doc, I can't stop singing "What's New, Pussycat?" Sounds like you've got Tom Jones syndrome. Is it very common? It's not unusual.
I'm so glad we didn't miss that. That was really special.
And life hack for today, folks. Being surrounded by the color yellow helps you stay focused. Yellow decreases the production of melatonin, a hormone, which makes you sleepy.
Is there any yellow in here?
But
it's a little bit.
A little bit.
It's such a focused space.
Yeah.
Woo! Stuff everywhere.
And
now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Fortunately, absolutely nothing happened in history over the summer. History, in my experience, has been kind of like a Harry Potter book. It takes the summer off. So you don't have to worry about missing anything over the summer. But I will be glad to tell you what happened on this day in history. On this day in history in 1429, Joan of Arc leads the French forces to victory over the English at Orleans. So there you go. On this date in 1992, riots erupt in Los Angeles after police officers are acquitted in the Rodney King trial. I'm so glad that's past part of
Oh,
our
yeah.
country's history. On this date in 1945, the U.S. Army liberates the Dachau concentration camp. So that was good. 1968, Hair premieres on Broadway, which was apparently how well it was received depended upon your political views. And finally, it is not Tudor history, but in descendants from Tudor history.
Okay.
On this date in 2011, Britain's Prince William weds Kate Middleton.
Oh,
Yes, so that was a thing that happened.
all right.
There you go.
So keep the questions coming. There are a few up there, and we will answer those. We are gonna also. I have. If any of you have ever watched Ask Mike Anything, I have question cards that will do to fill some space and time if we're not getting questions from folks. But yeah, looks like we got some. So let me take this banner down here so I can put up the question. So here we go.
Now they can see our technology.
That's all right. They know it's
Bottom
there.
of the table.
So my dad wants to know, Bree, how do you know if Mike is delirious from a vaccine as opposed to his normal state of being?
Well, this is the first time I've seen him delirious from a vaccine. And the reason I know it's from the vaccine is because he had just had a vaccine. And so I correlated those two events. He was not funny delirious.
Yeah.
His usual state of I live in my own universe-ness is much more fun. And this was much more randomly shaking and spasming and moaning and crying. And
weird.
yes. So I would say looking at the most likely explanation. Yes.
All right.
That's my experience.
All right. Here's another question for Bree from Karen. When did you know you wanted to be a pastor?
Oh man. So everybody has a unique story. And I often say that my story is one of taking one step at a time. Because the Lord knows I get overwhelmed very easily. And so if I had known early in the journey that it was going to end with me being a pastor, I would have panicked and probably still be curled up in a corner somewhere. So I started college as an engineering student, and I was really good at it, but I knew that I couldn't spend my whole life doing it. And so I took some psychology and religion classes while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I really enjoyed them, so I ended up becoming a psych and religion major. And well, what do you do with that in the world? So the door opened for me to go to seminary. And even when I went to seminary, I wasn't entirely sure what my call was. Along the way, I discovered that I really love leading people in worship. I really love preaching, teaching, getting to share those things that I got to study and others didn't. And so the doors kind of opened for me, but it was very much a gradual unfolding of what that path looked like, as opposed to some people who get sort of the blinded by the light on the side of the road. You shall be a pastor. For me, I wrestled with it much more. And there are still days where I go, am I really the right person to be doing this? But in my experience, that's pretty a healthy attitude to have.
No,
a lot
not
of
probably.
days.
That is definitely a healthy attitude to have. If you are a pastor and you don't regularly question whether you're doing the right thing, whether this is your calling or not, you're probably not.
Well, it's very easy to become overconfident or arrogant or self-assured in a way that can be dangerous to the church that you're serving, to the people that you're serving with. But I would say, my path was very different from yours. I think you had a sense very early on in your life that you were called to be a pastor, and then wrestled with as life unfolded. How did that call continue to develop?
Yeah, I knew I was called. So my faith development was very different from Bree's. Bree was born a Methodist, has always been a Methodist. I was born Catholic, walked away from the church, found myself mixed in with some pretty pretty decent, I would say, evangelicals. Had my come to Jesus moment just before I turned 18. And at that point, I knew engineering was not going to be my thing, and that I was going to be in some type of full-time Christian service. Initially, I looked at and considered overseas missions, and that led to being a pastor. So I love it most days. So
Yeah.
All right. Question from Robert. Which Harry Potter characters would be most likely to be a disciple?
Oh,
I'm going to let Bree handle this because she knows Harry Potter way better than I do.
I think you can make a case for any of them.
Harry's totally a Peter.
Harry's totally a Peter. Harry leaps first and does not think things through, which is a very Gryffindor trait to have. I think Ron and Hermione sort of stumble along, although they kind of get in their own way a lot. I would have to say, my bias might be showing, but I think Luna Lovegood, because she's not afraid to be weird, to be viewed as someone who's different. She's not afraid to be herself and to stand up for her belief.
That makes me like that question a whole lot more.
And she's a
Not that I didn't
Ravenclaw,
like it,
so
but-
she thinks things through. She's weird on purpose. I have a friend once who was once described as he's weird, but he's weird for a theological reason. And I kind of think that Luna Lovegood could fit into that category.
I'm just trying to think of your weird theological friends.
I'll tell you later.
All
I
right.
don't want to out anybody
All
on camera. That's a great question, though.
All right. Another one from Robert. What restaurant will you miss most in the Ann Arbor or Ypsilanti area? I can answer that very easily. Hands down, the Bomber. The Bomber I'm going to miss. I know it's not like super classy or fancy, but talk about a good down to earth place where you can get good food at a decent price and meat. I mean, like it's an intersection for everybody in town.
Yeah.
So for me, it's going to be the Bomber for sure.
I think we'll miss a lot of the Depot Town restaurants as well.
Yeah.
I know we've missed them over the last year as we have not been eating out quite so much.
Yeah, we used to do Aubrey's quite a bit.
Yes. Especially our first couple of years, we did Aubrey's almost every Sunday after church. Aubrey's, Maze, Sidetracks. I really like Sidetracks, but they don't have chicken nuggets, and so that made it hard to go as a family. That's like where we would sneak out when it was just the adults and go get a really good burger.
Yeah.
We have one kid who eats burger now, but that was a deal breaker for a while for our family.
So a lot of my my main office space in the community has been at the Bomber.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best things is when somebody comes in there for the first time and they order the Bomber breakfast without really understanding or considering the portions that are even stated on the menu, right? Without considering that, and then the plate comes out, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna need 3 boxes, please."
Yeah,
that's always fun. Good question.
yep.
All right. How has living in Ypsi compared to your expectations before you moved here?
I think when we moved, we were so caught up in grief over leaving the community that we had been in, which was where we moved right after we got married, where we started our family, where we they really loved us through our son's sickness. And so there was an anticipation of having a fresh start, but I think there was also this grief, and it was hard for us to imagine a new place feeling like home, to imagine loving new churches the way that we loved the churches that we were coming from. And what is so surprising is how much Ypsi has been home. Mike's been telling people, like, it feels like we're from here. Like, this could be where we grew up, where we lived,
Mm-hmm.
where our roots are. And I've really appreciated that about Ypsilanti, and I don't know that we expected that when we came in. I think we
No.
expected, people will be nice and it'll be a new community, but we didn't expect to be so grounded in this community, and to have it just feel so much like home to us.
Yeah. The anticipation of leaving here to go to Grand Rapids feels very much uh, like it felt after we got married and we're going to Oscoda.
Yeah,
Um,
like leaving home.
yeah, it was a little different Oscoda to here, um, and I think mostly because of the grief we were in, and it kind of felt like there had been a role reversal where the church was taking care of
Hmm.
us instead of us taking care. So there was that piece. So it felt different. Um, and yeah, so I did not expect to fall in love with Ipsy as fast as I did.
Hmm.
I didn't expect to feel as at home as I do. Um, I didn't expect in 7 years to make the deep friendships that I have. Um, it's one of those things as a pastor in an itinerant system. Uh, I have prepared myself for the reality that like everything's temporary, and I kind of have that mindset, um, and uh, try to prepare myself for the reality that we're going to leave and friendships are going to be different and that kind of thing. I mean, technology, Facebook, Zoom, all that stuff has
It's a
made things
different world.
different than that. But like I look back and I don't really have much contact with people I went to high school with. I don't have contact
Hmm.
with people I went to college with. But I have deep friendships that I've made in Ypsilanti that feel like, yeah, it feels like I went to high school with
Mm.
with that person, or it feels like I grew up, playing stickball in the road with that person. Um, and so yeah, it's definitely different than the expectation.
Yeah.
Um, and that's part of what makes moving hard, but it's also like I have excitement too because if that's possible here, it can be possible, I'm sure, in Grand Rapids where there are wonderful people, and it's not horrifically far away from Ipsy, so we can
Yeah.
visit. And Michaela still got to get her braces adjusted here, so
Yeah.
so there's that. Question for both of us from my old man: what characteristics of yours do you see in your girls?
You're looking at me.
I'll answer first.
Well, I'm trying to
Okay,
be
I'll answer first.
diplomatic.
No,
You
I'll answer
go
first.
first.
So in Michaela and Braley both, I absolutely see my sense of humor.
Mhm.
They get their humor from me, um, uh, and yeah, so they get their humor from me. They get kind of their mischievous streaks from me. I think
Mhm.
more so than you, um, and yeah, I would say those.
I think they get a lot of their imagination from me. I watch them. Braylee's been doing imaginary podcasts and shows. She stood out on one of the benches yesterday and did a whole show.
Yeah.
It was fabulous. I remember doing that as a kid. So I think that that's definitely something. I think love of reading, love of learning, a lot of that comes from me. And unfortunately, with that, some of the perfectionist expectations that can kind of get in your way, that I have to know it right away. Everything has to be perfect. Um, they get that from me as well, unfortunately. And we're all working on that together.
Uh, uh, all right, now hang on. Here we go. Here's one from Robert. What is the thing that if you had more time, you think you could accomplish at each of your churches, or the things left unfinished?
Well, I know at first, um, every year that I've been here, we have to do annual reports, and every year I said, "This has been a year of constant change and turmoil, but we're hoping that the coming year will settle down and we can focus more on visioning and intentional change as opposed to staff changes and sort of ministry changes that happened to us rather than us choosing them." Um, and it never calmed down. My hope is that now the congregation can be more intentional, because I do think there are some changes that will help with the ministry. They're starting some conversations around some different ways of structuring committees and administration in order to free people up to spend less time sitting in committee meetings, and spend less time worrying about having enough butts in the seats in committee meetings and spend more time doing ministry. Um, and I really appreciate the way that the congregation is thinking about, well, why do we do the things that we do as we get back to doing things that we've always done? Why do we do that? Is they still the right things to be doing? How can we engage in the community in the world that we're in right now? And I'm so glad those conversations are taking place. I would love to have been here through the getting back to worshiping together. Those days are coming. I don't think those days are coming before I leave, at least not in any sizable way. And that kind of, not kind of, that breaks my heart. But I know that that work is going to continue. And I know that the congregation is going to be in really good hands. And there's also a self-awareness that comes in knowing that maybe I'm not the pastor to take the church to that next stage of visioning. Maybe I was here to be the pastor through 2 building projects and ministry turmoil and leadership changes, and how many different pastoral models did we go through since I've been here. And to go through that process with the congregation, I think has been really important. And I'm excited that now there's an opportunity for a new page and a new chapter. And I've, in my experience, which is limited as it is with Dr. Don, I think he's going to be a great voice and a great leader to have at the helm. So I'm looking forward to. I'll be watching to see as the next chapter unfolds.
Yeah, we had pre-pandemic. It felt like there was some momentum picking up for St. Matt's and Cherry Hill. I would like to see that continue as things open up. And I agree. I had some thoughts and some ideas and some plans for uh, coming out of the pandemic. We've had great conversations throughout the pandemic about some of those things, about what do we do that we just what were we doing that we don't need to do anymore? What are some things we can do going forward that are going to launch us ahead instead of places where we're really just reacting to what happens. And so, yeah, I would love to see things continue like the food trucks. I'd love to see food trucks continue. I would love to see um, the church realizing um, in greater ways how to um, use their buildings as assets for community. Um, we consider the reality that even when the pandemic is, or when things open back up, probably not going to be using our small classrooms as classrooms. So, is there a way we can use them as community clothes closets, or storage for disaster relief supplies, or something that's or something that's going to uh, focus more on the community around us
Yeah.
than simply just the community that's inside the building. And so that's kind of my hope, and we were moving towards that fairly well. So Bree, what is 7 times 3 times 2?
42.
There you go.
I
For
actually
those
did
of you,
that math though.
for those of you
7
that
times 3 is 21.
for those of you that don't know, I have a rule on Ask Mike Anything on Monday nights that says any math question you ask, the answer will be 42, because 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And so my dad likes to mess around like that. How many boxes does it take to pack all Mike's t-shirts?
A lot. Well,
like 4.
We've started, like, we're winnowed down to not quite a capsule wardrobe, but we both, and the girls and Kathy as well, have done a lot of packing of clothes already, which has been hard because it's Michigan, and so you still need winter clothes and summer clothes. And so quite a few of Mike's shirts have already been packed. Quite a few of Mike's shirts have not already been packed, as you noticed by the fact that he still wears so many shirts. Yeah, probably about 4 good-sized boxes just of t-shirts.
Just of t-shirts.
And you've gotten rid of a lot of them as
rid of a
well, which I think in your mind means now I can get more, which is not what that means.
That's not what I said.
That's what you thought. So Mike has a lot of shirts.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing about producing Fun with Faith?
I thought it was very easy. I didn't have any. Mike does all of the behind the scenes. I literally look up history and show up and sit in the chair.
It was figuring out just figuring out getting all the technology to work together. At one point we had Michaela sitting in here being very quiet, pushing the buttons to change things. It takes 3 cords, 3 separate adapter cords to get from the receiver of our microphones into my iPhone, which is on a tripod. And then the iPhone goes through the Wi-Fi to the internet, and then back to my computer, which is plugged into a hard line because we have kids we're typically using Wi-Fi at the same time for school. And so just making sure all of those things worked out. Early on, I was just using my old MacBook Air, and it was way too much for that computer to handle. So yeah, just getting the tech to work together. StreamYard is the service we use that allows you to comment in from any of the Facebook pages that are streaming this now, from YouTube, from whatever. The reason we can see it is because of this service, and it gives us the ability to put in the different overlays and things, and so that's made it fairly easy. But yeah, it was, every morning it's going through and creating the overlays, putting things in, creating videos. It was significantly more difficult when we were doing music every day, figuring that out. So yeah, but it's been an evolution too.
I think on a not technological, I can talk level, every so often there's a day where we just both get up on the wrong side of bed.
That happens.
And we look at whatever the devotion is that we're doing at that time, and it doesn't speak to us. And there's this sense of, what are we going to say? Doesn't happen that often. And sometimes those turn out to be like, we get done and we're like, wow, there actually was a lot there. But it's a little disconcerting from about 9 a.m. till 10, kind of wandering around going, we don't have anything to say today. I don't really feel like saying anything today.
Yeah.
And then we start, and it's fun and things happen. But I think that has been a challenge, that sometimes it's just,
there are a lot of days that we sit here at the table as we're watching the countdown to start, and we're giggling and we're laughing and we're having fun and we're riffing on stuff and making jokes. And then there are times that we're just both sitting here waiting. Which is why sometimes I'd come up and be like, "Good morning, Rev Heads," and be like, "Where did that energy come from?"
And that's why he looks at me funny,
like, why are you
because he'll be
laughing?
like, because I'm getting the energy.
Yeah.
And then the energy's
Yeah.
there. But sometimes it's not there until the camera starts rolling.
Yes.
So,
But the reality is, for any pastor, any person, when you pick up the scripture and you read it, whatever passage isn't always going to speak to you, isn't always going to be like, oh, this is the thing. And then sometimes in devotionals, we even noticed it in Bob Goff's when we're following that particular uh, storyline, I guess, that arc of scriptures that they have there. There are a lot that are very, very similar.
yeah.
And it's like, we have said this 3 days in a row.
Everybody's
We
gonna be.
don't
We
need to do
can't
this
say it
again.
again. We gotta say something different today.
And then there's
They're gonna find out that we each only have 3 sermons and just rearrange the words a little bit.
And then there's if we just do the lectionary, then it's sequential, and a lot of scripture builds on itself, and so you have those pieces that are difficult to do. And some days it just doesn't speak, or some days it's spoken 2 days in a row already, and you just can't do it. And so I feel like sometimes those were some of the tougher days. And then and like Bree said, there are days though that neither one of us are feeling it, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
We both walk away with like, oh, hey, that'll preach, and we go and take notes. And, so, all right, from my dad again. How do you plan on introducing yourselves to your new congregation without being able to gather? So, technically, we have already done a very basic introduction. We recorded introduction videos because both congregations are doing virtual stuff. So we made introduction videos, and they included those in worship. And right now, it sounds like, at least for me at Trinity, we're going to try and do plan some outdoor socially distanced activities. I now have my second shot. Bree is getting her second shot in about an hour. And so hopefully by that, well, not even hopefully, by that point, we will be fully vaccinated. And I know, at least for Trinity, a lot of folks have been or are getting fully vaccinated. And so there will be able to be some of that hanging out and being together.
Yeah. Distance outside events,
yeah.
and a lot of phone calls, and a lot
Yeah.
of Zoom meetings, and just a lot of all those ways to try to make contact with people in a way that is safe and meaningful.
Yeah, my transition has been fairly active so far. I've been to 2 SPRC meetings over Zoom. I've been to a trustees meeting and got to meet some folks, and a finance meeting, and getting to know people and recognize some faces. And yeah.
Mine has been a little less intentionally active. My SPRC that I'm moving to said, we understand, we don't expect you to pastor 2 churches at the same time, which is very easy to do that with an active transition, to feel like you have to be in both places. And so they've really respected that I've needed my focus to be here right now. But we have had several meetings and connections in other ways. But yeah, it is a challenge. It is a different. And I
want to be clear. I'm not really helping them make decisions or anything.
Flying on the wall, and
it's more fly on the wall, getting to know how things work and how people interact. So, yeah, outdoor gatherings. I'm hoping for some food trucks. I hear there are good food trucks in Grand Rapids area.
There's lots of good food over there.
So we'll do some of that. Mike, will you just be at one church? Yes, I am going to be at one church. It's Trinity United Methodist Church in Grand Rapids. It is the building will be 100 years old next year. Wow. So we're going to get to plan a centennial party. The congregation is older than that, but the building itself, 100 years old. Will St. Matt's pastor also be at Cherry Hill again? As far as I know, that is how that will work. It is the congregations are what we call yoked, so they are seen as one charge together.
But it hasn't been announced. It's possible that they'll be yoked with a third church. It's possible that they'll be separated and be connected in other ways. We don't know. The bishop makes that decision, but our assumption has been that they will continue to be yoked and have one pastor that they share.
Yep.
We'll find out when you do.
All right. Is going to new parishes like the first day of school without the smell of crayons? Apparently, you haven't been in a church in a while because there are crayons. But
it's I feel like it's more like going to a new school, because everybody else already knows each other, and you are the new kid. And oh, by the way, you're the teacher.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like going to a new school, with that sense of excitement and a new beginning and making lots of new friends. But it's a different, a little bit of a different energy, because you're entering a story that's already in process. You're entering ministry that's already happening. You're entering relationships that have already been formed, some of them for decades. They've seen pastors come and go many times. And so it's a different.
Yeah. There's that recognition that ministry has happened before we are there, and it will continue to happen after we're gone. And that's
part of the gift.
That's part of the gift of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. You can continue to type questions if you want. We'll take them, but I'm gonna do one of the cards because
pretty proud of the cards that you picked today.
Fairly okay. Pick a number 1 through 8.
4. That was my card. Oh.
All right, here is it's from my What the Heck deck. Would you ever pick up a hitchhiker?
Yes, but probably not if I was alone in the car.
Okay.
But if I'm thinking of my experiences in the past of being in cars when we picked up hitchhikers. And often it has been, like you're driving across the UP, it's dark, it's raining, this person's really stuck and in trouble.
Yeah.
And so, yes, but I am a bit of I've had safety first round into me so hard that it may be pull over and can I call somebody for you or.
Yeah. I'm shocked that you said yes, you would. I appreciate the caveat of if somebody else is in the car.
Yeah. My
answer is yes, but only if nobody else is in the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do this is horrible because this is such a fear-shaped decision.
Right.
But like if my kids are in the car, I'm probably not picking up a hitchhiker. But again, like I said, I might pull over, roll down my window, say, can I call? You need a tow? Do you need help? Is somebody on their way for you? Yeah.
Yeah, I would not with kids in the car. I wouldn't with you in the car.
I would with you in the car.
Well, that's good.
Well, you would probably be driving, so I guess that would be your decision. So I guess we wouldn't.
All right, I'm not seeing any new questions. So let's do 2 more cards. 1 through 7.
1 through 7. 7.
What's the funniest thing you've seen a kid do?
Oh, my word. Oh, you go first.
All right, I have 2. The first, I'm just gonna be one of our kids. I have a picture somewhere of Michaela in a diaper when she was a baby, like bent, her legs spread, bent over in the diaper, head on the ground, watching cartoons on an iPad.
Yeah,
that was and she would do that a lot. That was hilarious. The second, is my friend Carl Gladstone. When he was a kid, him and his cousin or something made a video for America's Funniest Home Videos, where there was the clapper commercial, clap on, clap off. They made a commercial and sent it into America's Funniest Home Videos for the Belcher. Belch on, belch off, the Belcher. And here's the thing is I remember watching America's Funniest Home Videos when I was a kid and seeing that video and thinking it was hilarious, and they won like 10 grand or whatever it was. And then to find out years later, Carl and I are colleagues and friends. That was great.
So I'm thinking of, again, when Michaela was a baby, and I did not see this firsthand. I saw a video of it, and she was totally fine. And then I came home from work, and she immediately started crying and stood up and toddled over to the baby gate like she had been crying the whole time. It was a total guilt trip. And it was hilarious because you had told me she did that, but you finally had it. So you were, whatever she was doing, you had the video running. And manipulative little cuss.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And they're still that way.
Yeah. I enjoy watching Breely put on her shows too. Yeah. She does little fake YouTube videos. She reads books, and she totally is giving the narration, and it's pretty sweet.
All right, one more, and then we'll call it a day. Because I'm not seeing any new questions from folks. All right,
all right. We've had some great ones.
Yeah, 1 through 6.
3.
Who is your favorite hero of fiction? All right, so I don't know what just happened there.
Your phone
my phone probably overheated. So can you hear us? Can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear us or not. All right. Favorite hero of fiction, Bree?
I don't know.
Okay. Mine is going to be Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files, a wizard investigator.
Okay.
Great book series. Highly recommend it.
I don't know. I
don't
have one. No, I don't.
Which one that you like?
I don't know. Hero, I think like Avengers.
No,
or
it doesn't
something.
have to be. No, any hero.
Favorite hero of fiction. I don't know.
Is it Harry Potter? Is it Hermione Granger? Is it Luna Lovegood again?
Well, definitely Hermione is the hero of those
Of
books.
course.
So I guess that's fine.
That's
That's not a good card. Pick a different card.
All right, one more. 1 through 5.
4. Or just pick a red one.
Right.
We haven't done a red one yet.
Would you rather
No.
eat a whole bag of marshmallows or a whole jar of peanut butter at once?
At once. Eat the whole bag of marshmallows at once.
Whole bag of marshmallows at once or the whole jar of peanut butter at once?
Probably the marshmallows.
I concur. I would do marshmallows.
I would rather not do either.
Me
but
too.
I think if I
if you had to, that's the point of a would you rather
I
question.
feel like the peanut butter would just be so sticky. It'd be hard to keep going.
All right. So friends,
he's looking up at the
I'm looking at the wrong camera. Technical difficulties on the last show before summer break. That's only fitting.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us through 249 episodes. Episode 250 will be from somewhere in the Grand Rapids area. We look forward to that. We look forward to being back with you in the fall. You can still, even when we're not on the air, you can send us prayer requests. We'd love to pray for you. We'd love to pray with you. So please do that. Ask Mike Anything will continue on Monday nights. Worship will continue Sundays, live stream with Pastor Bree at 9:30, 11 o'clock with me. Our last Sundays in Ypsi in the pulpit is going to be June 13th. So please continue to join us, and we will continue to get you information on food trucks and other things through the Revs Facebook page and the church Facebook pages. We love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was fun. And know that we love you. And more importantly, God loves you. And there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Amen.